Howdy folks, Texas Grebner here with Texas Grebner Outdoors. New videos every Saturday, so if you don't want to miss out on your Texas Grebner Outdoors Saturday morning cartoon awesomeness, make sure to click subscribe and check my channel every Saturday for new videos. I love reading your comments and I really do appreciate all of you that watch. Welcome again to the slow descent into madness, Illinois archery season 2016. Sex ain't like pornography, hunting ain't like TV shows, but the chase goes on. I honestly never sleep worth a damn before a morning hunt. Tossing, turning, hoping, dreaming, plotting, praying, and scheming. Before this hunt, I had laid out a drag line made out of a mop head and about 8 ounces of doe estrus. I had hiked it around the field edges and brought it back under my stand for the perfect ambush. Every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. And I hope to lure a buck crossing the field to where I wanted him to be. But deer are wild and free, unpredictable creatures. As the sun came up and got higher and higher, I sat watching, waiting, listening, and wondering as the mist and fog of the perfect morning burned away. And then, out of nowhere, a buck came following my rut line as if he had a ring through his nose, and then simply sheared off because I had dragged my line across another doe's trail, and he took off right past my tree stand at the hilltop across the field. And I watched him follow his doe out of her bed and chase her across the hillside. And so, hoping that another buck would happen by, I waited, watching and listening and enjoying the beautiful early fall morning as the sun rose higher and higher. It had been a huge gamble, and a quite expensive gamble, to put out an estrus line. And I was getting quite tired, honestly, because I never sleep very well before a morning hunt, and I had put out my estrus line at 4 in the morning and spent cold hours in the stand in the dark. And so my hunt came to an end, foiled yet again by the wily whitetails. Hunting with a traditional bow has its difficulties, but one thing that is incredibly important in traditional bow hunting is figuring out where the animals are going to be, figuring out where they want to be, and getting along their travel route in order to intercept them at a close distance because of the limited range. And there is no substitute for watching the animals. The most difficult animal that I have found to hunt is not a whitetail buck. They can be called, they can be lured with sexual attractant scents, but a whitetail doe cares absolutely nothing. And so there is no substitute for actually being there and figuring out where they want to be and being there ahead of them. My bow in my hand, every rustle in the grass caused my nerves to shiver. And then as the darkness started to gather, I looked across the hillside out into the corn, and I saw a heavy-headed buck moving along the base of the hillside, well out of range, but simply watching him and where he was exiting and re-entering the timber. Outwitted, outmaneuvered, and failing at the end of each day, I also noticed that the stand that I wasn't perched near had whitetail does coming out of it like a shotgun blast. The slow descent into madness continued. Every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. I was sitting on a brush pile in a ragweed thicket within some oak trees at the opposite side of the cornfield, alongside the trail that I had seen the buck go into the night previously. Watching, waiting, listening. Every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. And mystically, a doe entered the field. I watched her, wondering if she was going to come across to the oak thicket as the corn stalks and shelled corn had been tilled under. But I carefully watched my back trail, and so as the sun began to sink lower and lower, geese flew overhead to the south, and I continued to watch the doe up on the hillside across from me. Yet again, I had been outwitted, perhaps simply by random chance, and then hours of boredom culminated in that very same doe being chased around the ridge top by a buck. I grunted at him in an attempt to challenge him and pull him off of the doe, but he was so massively large that I was in awe, and the sun continued to sink, and outwitted yet again, my hunt came to an end. The quest goes on. Every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. I feel a bit foolish because of the amount of money that I had put into tree stands in order to sit on a camp stool for much of the season. One of the main advantages of hunting on the ground is plain and simple, you can be fluid. You can go to where the deer are, or where you think the deer are going to be. It was the absolute perfect afternoon as the evening came on. The wind was absolutely perfect. The ambush was absolutely perfect. Me tucked behind a bush. As you can clearly see on the film, a well-worn deer trail in front of me. I had put up a scent wick. While I do not have a lot of faith in the attraction value, it does at least keep them occupied if they come in. The wind held perfectly, and I still sat, watching, waiting, listening. I had gotten in very early in the afternoon thanks to a tractor breakdown that would not be fixed until the next day. Sitting behind my bush, feeling fidgety and foolish, and wondering if, for once, everything would just go right. The evening came on, and the magic hour was upon me. Watching, waiting, listening. The small birds rustling in the ragweed set my nerves on edge. There were no squirrels today. The air had a perceptible chill, and it heightened my excitement. And then I looked up across the hillside from beneath my opposite stand, and like a ghost came a spike buck across the top of the hillside. Everything was so perfect, and I watched him with joy that for once I had been on the right side of the field. And yet, as he got closer, I realized that it was not a doe, and it was in fact a spike. And I was not about to shoot a spike buck. I'm not that desperate yet. And so, he made his way along the trail, up the hill further, and away from me. And still I sat in hopes that another buck might try and chase him away. I had set up alongside of a gap in the fence where the deer trail went, and the geese mocked me as they flew overhead. Hunting is a very spiritual and humbling experience. Every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. And just as sex is nothing like pornography, true hunting is nothing like what is portrayed on many TV shows. And I continue to bring you the reality of traditional bow hunting for whitetail. It is our closest approximation that we can achieve in modern day life to a full communion with nature, body, blood, and spirit. Sitting, watching, waiting, listening. I unashamedly hunt for sport, and there would be no joy in it if it were easy. Accomplishment is directly proportional to difficulty and effort. And so, it does not bother me if I come up empty. It is for joy of the chase that I hunt, rather than joy of the kill. And I would not have shot that young buck that crossed my path, even had he been in range, because I am a slave to my ethics. And it is very poor deer management to slay young bucks, and yet foiled again by the wild, majestic whitetail. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Make sure to check back next week for some more Texas Grebner Outdoors Illinois Archery Season 2016. As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect your rights. Please got my friends over at SOETacticalleader.com. Thank you very much to those of you involved in law enforcement and those of you serving in the military. And thanks for watching Texas Grebner Outdoors.